I'm Rachel, I'm 33, and up until this year, I would have told you my sister Emily was just quirky. You know, the kind of person who brings her own hot sauce to restaurants, insists on handmade gifts for every occasion, and micromanages every potluck like it's a Michelin-starred event. We've had our moments, sure, but nothing that ever crossed the line until my son's 8th birthday. It was a small backyard party, balloons, paper plates, a couple of water games, and a Pokemon-themed piñata. Nothing over the top. I wasn't trying to be supermom. I just wanted Josh to have fun with his little friends and cousins. Emily had texted me the night before saying she'd take care of the cake. I didn't ask her to. I had already planned on picking up a sheet cake from the local bakery, but she insisted. Made it just for him. Her note said, neatly tucked under the plastic wrap on top of a surprisingly elaborate 3-tiered cake with little fondant Pikachu ears sticking out from the top. It was sweet of her, or at least, I thought it was. I even texted her a thank you with a few exclamation marks, telling her how excited Josh would be. She didn't come to the party herself, claiming she had a last-minute spa day she couldn't cancel, but she said she'd drop her kids off early to play and represent her. Her twins, Mason and Tyler, are 10. Older than Josh, louder than Josh, and twice as fast when it comes to sniffing out sugar. They showed up 30 minutes early, already sticky from the Gatorade they'd spilled in the car and buzzing with that dangerous pre-party energy. I was still setting up chairs and stringing decorations when they zoomed past me into the backyard like they owned the place. I barely had time to breathe before one of the other moms called out, Rachel? The boys are eating the cake, and not just picking at the frosting. No. They had pulled the whole plastic wrap off and were digging in like it was an all-you-can-eat buffet. 2 layers demolished, crumbs and frosting everywhere. Josh hadn't even seen the cake yet. I'll admit, I froze. My instinct wasn't to yell. I just stood there, stunned, watching Mason scoop a finger through Pikachu's face like it was no big deal. I didn't want to make a scene with other parents around, and part of me thought, well, they're kids. Maybe Emily won't mind. So I snapped a picture and sent it to her with a quick, casual text. Hope you don't mind. Your boys love the cake. Laughing emoji. That's literally all I said. No sarcasm. No judgment. I was trying to keep it light, even though inside, I was disappointed. The phone rang less than 30 seconds later. What the actual heck? Rachel? She barked the moment I answered. That cake wasn't for them. I spent 2 days working on that. I told you it was for Josh. I blinked. Emily, your boys got here early and went straight for it. I didn't even see them until it was too late. You're the adult. You're supposed to be watching them. I could feel my neck heating up. I was setting up. They ran in while I was still tying balloons. It's not like I handed them forks and said, go nuts. They ruined everything. She snapped. That cake cost me $200 in ingredients and time. That wasn't just some store cake. That was art. Okay, well, I'm sorry, I said, genuinely trying to de-escalate. We still have cake from the bakery. It's not a big deal. Josh didn't even see it. He's having fun. She didn't respond. She just hung up. I stood there with my phone still pressed to my ear like maybe she'd come back and say, sorry, I overreacted. But instead, 2 hours later, I got a Venmo notification. A request from Emily. $200, cake reimbursement. At first, I thought it was a joke. I even laughed, showed it to my husband Matt and said, she can't be serious, right? But she was. She sent a follow-up message. I expect this paid by tomorrow. I don't do free labor for people who let my kids destroy my work. Now, I'll admit, I was irritated before. But that text? That flipped something in me. Because here's the thing. This wasn't the first time Emily had pulled something like this. There was the Christmas she brought everyone personalized ornaments, except mine just said, R. And when I asked why, she said, well, I had to rush, you're kind of hard to shop for. Or the time she offered to help with my baby shower and then hijacked the whole thing, making it all about her future niece or nephew, and giving a long speech about how she was the reason I was even a mom to begin with. I'd always brushed it off, told myself she just liked attention, that it wasn't worth the family drama to call her out. But now she was demanding money for a cake her own kids ate? I was done tiptoeing. I didn't respond right away. I just let the request sit there. She sent another text the next morning. Hey, haven't seen the payment come through. Just reminding you before I escalate this to mom and dad. Oh, of course. And like clockwork, that afternoon I got a call from our mother. Rachel, she said in that disappointed tone she perfected sometime around 1998. What happened with Emily's cake? I sighed. Mom, Her kids showed up early and ate it. That's what happened. Well, she says you were careless, that you didn't appreciate her gift. You know how much time she put into that. She didn't even stay for the party, I snapped. And now she wants me to pay her because her own children ruined her surprise? That's not normal. You were the host, Mom said slowly. Maybe you should have been more aware. I think $200 is fair. I nearly dropped the phone. Are you serious? Look, I'm not taking sides, she said. But it's your nephew's birthday. Maybe just pay her and move on. I hung up, and for the first time in my life, I didn't feel guilty about it. Not even a little. Because something clicked. This wasn't about a cake. It was about control. About Emily constantly putting herself in the spotlight, twisting narratives so she always came out as the victim or the hero, depending on what suited her best. I wasn't going to play that game anymore. Instead, I went digging. See, Emily has a small home baking business on the side. Mostly for fun, she sells a few cakes a month through Instagram and always brags about how she doesn't need the money, just does it for the art. But I remembered she told me once, at a family dinner, that she didn't have a food handler's license because technically she doesn't sell publicly, just by word of mouth. Except, I knew for a fact she'd taken money through Venmo for a birthday cake she made for my coworker's daughter last month. And I had the screenshots. I didn't plan on using them, not at first. But then Emily escalated. She posted a rant on Facebook, tagged me in it, saying how some people don't appreciate handmade gifts, and how when you pour love into something and it gets treated like trash, it's hard not to feel undervalued. She didn't mention the $200 directly, but she didn't need to. Half our extended family was suddenly texting me saying they couldn't believe I treated her like that. And that's when I knew. This wasn't just about a cake anymore. It was about setting a boundary and making sure this time it actually stuck. I didn't respond to her post. Not publicly, anyway. I didn't even leave a comment. I just watched the likes and sympathetic comments roll in from people who had no idea what had actually happened. Cousins who hadn't spoken to me in years were suddenly writing things like, "You're such a good sister, Em. Don't let people walk all over you." I felt the heat building in my chest, that slow, tight feeling that always crept in when I felt cornered but couldn't scream. Matt asked me if I wanted him to say something. I said no. I needed to handle this myself. I wasn't going to play her game. I was going to flip the board. So, I waited. 2 days. 3. Let the Venmo request expire. Let the whispers in the family chat build. My mom even sent me a passive-aggressive message. Still no apology? You used to have more grace than this. That one stung. Not because I cared what she thought, but because I realized how long they'd been enabling Emily. Grace, to them, meant silence. It meant compliance. And I was done with both. So I made one call. To my coworker, Tanya. The one who bought the unicorn cake from Emily last month and paid via Venmo. I asked her if she'd mind forwarding me the receipt Emily sent, along with the conversation they had about pricing. Tanya was more than happy to oblige, especially when I told her what was going on. Then I went to the official health department's site, pulled up the cottage food law page, took screenshots, highlighted the section that said food sales, even from home, needed a license, and how failure to comply could result in penalties. Emily's little side hustle wasn't legal. She told me as much, bragging that she was too small to be noticed. I still wasn't planning to report her. That's not who I am. But I was going to make sure she knew I could. That if she wanted to keep poking me, she was playing a dangerous game. So I sent her a message. Simple. Calm. Hi, Emily. I'm sorry your boys got into the cake. I didn't invite them early, and I didn't think I had to guard it like the crown jewels. I won't be paying your Venmo request. If anything, you should be thanking me for not sending you a bill for cleaning up the frosting they smeared all over my patio furniture. Also, just a friendly reminder, running a baking business from home without the proper food permits is illegal in our state. Someone might want to check that out before demanding $200 over text. I attached the screenshots. The law. The Venmo payment from Tanya. Her Instagram post where she offered custom cakes starting at $150. I didn't threaten her. I didn't need to. She left me on read. For an entire week. No comments. No Venmo requests. No passive-aggressive Facebook quotes about people who don't support small businesses. Just silence. Until Sunday afternoon, when my mom showed up at my door with a plastic container of grocery store cookies and a sheepish smile. I brought treats for Josh, she said, like that would undo everything. I crossed my arms. Did Emily send you? No, she said, but her eyes darted. Okay, yes. She's upset. She said you're trying to ruin her business. She tried to invoice me for something her kids ruined. I cut in. Then dragged my name through the mud when I wouldn't pay. All while illegally running a business she never registered. She's embarrassed, Rachel. Good. Maybe she should be. Mom shifted uncomfortably. She says she's scared now. That you might report her. I said nothing. Just stared at her. Will you? Mom finally asked. That question hung in the air for a moment too long. And I realized that wasn't fear in her voice. That was expectation. Not will you as in will you actually do this, but please don't. Because family is supposed to let each other get away with stuff. And that's when I knew what I had to do. I didn't answer my mom. I just walked back inside, leaving her standing on the porch holding those discount cookies like they were some kind of peace treaty. Instead of calling Emily, I posted something. Not to be petty, not to start drama, but to set the record straight. Hi everyone. I've stayed quiet for a few days because I didn't want to turn my son's birthday into a circus. But since a lot of people seem to have heard Emily's side of the cake incident, here's mine. Emily made a cake and dropped it off. Her kids arrived early and ate most of it before the party started. She then demanded $200 from me for the cake and posted vague accusations online when I declined. I was blamed for not supervising her children, then guilt for not paying. Just to clarify, I did not ask her to make a cake. I had already ordered one from the bakery. Her gesture, while appreciated, was unsolicited, and the mess her kids left was extensive. I have no interest in continuing this drama, but I won't be villainized for drawing a boundary. I love my family, but love doesn't mean letting people walk all over you. I didn't name call. I didn't mention the illegal business, but people read between the lines. The comments started rolling in almost immediately. Thanks for clearing that up, Rachel. Honestly, good for you. Saw the post she made, was wondering what really happened. She charged you. For real. No one clapped back. No one took her side this time. In fact, a few people unfollowed her bakery account quietly over the next few days. I didn't report her. I didn't need to. Her own actions were doing the damage for me. But Emily wasn't going to go down without one last swing. 3 days later, I got a letter in the mail. Not from a lawyer, not from a court, but from Emily herself. A handwritten, double-sided letter in pink ink, full of dramatic language like betrayed trust, sabotage, and emotional distress. She said she was deeply hurt and couldn't believe I'd throw years of sisterhood away over a cake. And then, at the bottom, scrawled in loopy cursive, P.S. You still owe me for the cake, $200. I accept PayPal now too. That was the moment I knew she hadn't learned anything. And that's when I decided it was time to stop playing defense and start playing offense. I didn't reply to the letter, not out of politeness or shock or even disbelief anymore, but because I was finished talking. Emily didn't want resolution. She wanted control. And every time I responded, every time I defended myself or tried to explain, it gave her more room to twist things, to perform her martyrdom for the family stage. But I wasn't the same person I'd been even a few months ago. I'd grown tired of keeping the peace at the cost of my own sanity. So I moved quietly. I had no intention of dragging this feud into some legal battlefield or calling a health inspector to storm her kitchen. But I did want one thing: distance. Real, clear, undeniable distance. First, I unfollowed her on every platform. Instagram, Facebook, even Pinterest, gone. She noticed. She always noticed. I know because not 2 hours later, I got a text from our cousin Danielle that read, "Whoa, just saw you and aren't connected anymore. You okay?" I just replied, "I'm good. Just keeping boundaries." But that was only step one. Step two came a week later when a mutual friend, Monica, messaged me asking if I'd be okay if she hired Emily to make her wedding cake. Monica had seen the drama unfold online and wanted to be respectful, which I appreciated more than I could say. So I told her the truth. Not rumors, not exaggerations, just facts. She does beautiful work, no doubt. But I'd be careful. She doesn't have a food license, and she charges clients through Venmo, so there's no real accountability if something goes wrong. Also, if anything happens to the cake, if a guest knocks it over or a caterer slices it wrong, there's a real chance she'll demand full compensation, like she did with me, even when it wasn't anyone's fault but her own kids. Monica didn't say much, but a few days later, I noticed she posted a photo of her finalized wedding cake tasting with a completely different baker. I didn't gloat. I didn't screenshot it and send it to anyone. But I won't lie, I slept really well that night. Meanwhile, The rest of the family started drifting. Not entirely, not all at once, but slowly, I noticed the tide shifting. Group chats went quiet whenever Emily posted her dramatic stories. People who used to jump to her defense started staying silent. A few even started texting me behind the scenes with their own Emily stories. She did the same thing at my baby shower, one cousin wrote. Made me this huge diaper cake, then told everyone I owed her $100 for the materials. She tried to invoice me for the brunch she hosted last spring, another said. Even though she insisted on doing it and said it was her treat. I thought I was crazy for thinking that was weird. It was like the spell was breaking. People were finally realizing that Emily's gifts came with invisible strings, and the moment you didn't perform the gratitude script she expected, she turned vindictive. Still, the final push came a few weeks later, when I hosted a small family get-together. Not a big event, just a casual barbecue in the backyard. Burgers, lemonade, the usual. I invited my parents, my in-laws, a few cousins. But not Emily. I didn't even send a polite, if you're free text. I didn't lie about it, either. When Mom called the next day and said, Emily's upset she wasn't invited, I just said, I know. That was intentional. She's family, Rachel, Mom sighed. So am I replied. And I've spent 33 years being polite while she's humiliated, manipulated, and guilt-tripped me. I'm not doing that anymore. But it's just a barbecue. No, I cut in gently, but firmly. It's not just anything. It's my home, my space. And I finally realized I get to choose who's allowed in it. Mom didn't have a response to that. Not a real one. She changed the subject after a long silence and didn't bring it up again. But that weekend, something happened that told me I'd finally shifted the dynamic. I got a message from Tyler, Emily's son, 10 years old, and for the first time, texting me from his dad's phone. Hi, Aunt Rachel. I'm sorry we ate the cake. We didn't know it was a special one. I hope Josh had a good birthday. He's cool. It hit me in the gut. Because he got it. That tiny bit of maturity and self-awareness from a 10-year-old was more accountability than his mother had shown in her entire adult life. I texted back. Thank you, Tyler. That means a lot. Josh did have a good birthday, and he misses you. Maybe you guys can hang out sometime soon. He replied with a happy face emoji and a Pikachu gif. And that was it. That was the moment I stopped feeling angry and started feeling free. Emily kept her distance after that. Maybe because she knew she'd pushed too far, or maybe because without an audience cheering her on, the drama didn't feel worth it. She still posts her cakes. Still tags them with #madewithlove and #customorderswelcome. But the tone has changed. Quieter. Less smug. And the Venmo request? She sent a final reminder weeks later, with one line. You still owe me for that cake. This time, I replied. I owe you nothing. But I do hope you learned something. I hit block and didn't look back. Because here's what I've learned. Sometimes, the most powerful revenge isn't about getting even. It's about getting out. Out of toxic patterns. Out of fake smiles. Out of roles you never agreed to play. And once you're out, you realize how peaceful life can be without all the noise. My son still talks about that birthday party, about the piñata, the water balloons, and the bakery cake with the edible pokeballs. He doesn't remember the fight over the special cake. He just remembers laughing with his cousins and eating too much icing. And that's how I know I did the right thing. Because that's what birthdays should be about. Not guilt. Not invoices. Not drama. Just joy. I never heard from Emily again after that final message. Not directly, anyway. I blocked her on everything: phone, socials, even email. And when family events came up, I made it clear, if she's invited, I'm not coming. Not as a threat, just a fact. I wasn't making ultimatums, I was finally making choices for myself. The shift was uncomfortable at first. My mom didn't understand. She kept trying to mediate, insisting Emily was just high-strung and meant well deep down. But eventually, even she stopped pushing. She saw that I wasn't budging. She saw that I meant it this time. And I think, on some level, it made her reevaluate things too. The next holiday came, Thanksgiving. My husband and I hosted it ourselves, just a small gathering. I invited my parents, my cousins, a few close friends. Emily wasn't invited. For the first time in years, I didn't spend the week before dreading the day. There were no last-minute guilt trips, no sideways comments, no anxiety about what drama she might stir up. Just good food, good company, and actual peace. Even my mom, as reluctant as she was at first, admitted on the drive home that it was the most relaxed Thanksgiving she could remember. Do you miss her? She asked, carefully. I looked at my son, curled up on the couch in his post-dinner days, still wearing his paper turkey hat. I thought about the years I spent trying to keep everyone happy, walking on eggshells so Emily wouldn't explode or twist things around. I thought about how many birthdays, holidays, and conversations I'd let her hijack with her drama. "No," I said. "Not even a little." Mom nodded. And to my surprise, she didn't argue. I think a part of her finally got it. A few months later, I heard through the grapevine that Emily's baking business had gone quiet. Her Instagram hadn't been updated in weeks. Apparently, someone reported her for operating without a food license. Not me. I never filed anything, but someone did. Maybe another client she tried to shake down, or a neighbor who'd had enough. She posted one last dramatic story, saying she was taking a break from toxic people and ungrateful clients. Then her account went dark. I didn't celebrate it. I didn't need to. That wasn't my victory to take. My victory came in smaller, quieter moments. Like when Josh asked me, months later, "Will Aunt Emily be at my next birthday?" And I said, "No, buddy. She won't." He just shrugged and said, "Okay. Can we have the same cake as last time? The one with the poke balls?" I smiled. "Yeah, we can." Because in the end, I didn't need to ruin Emily. I just needed to remove her. And by doing that, I got something way better than revenge. I got my peace back. And this time, I'm not giving it up for anyone.